Chapter 4. The Chariot Warfare Revolution, circa 2000 BCE, Mobility and Power. The invention and widespread use of the chariot represent a pivotal moment in the history of military technology. Around 2000 BCE, civilizations across the ancient world represented an instruction in Roman civilization. From Mesopotamia and Egypt to China and India, began adopting the chariot as a powerful tool for warfare. This revolutionary piece of technology not only changed the way battles were fought, but also shifted the balance of power between nations. Those who mastered chariot warfare gained enormous military advantages over their rivals, allowing them to expand their influence, conquer new territories, and consolidate their rule. The rise of the chariot in warfare demonstrates how technological advancements can alter the course of history, often at the expense of those who fail to keep pace. Just as in the Neolithic and Bronze Age revolutions, access to the latest technology, in this case the chariot, created stark inequalities between societies, dividing the winners from the losers. In this chapter, we will explore how the development of the chariot transformed ancient warfare, and how its impact illustrates the ongoing theme of technological inequality. The invention of the chariot. The origins of the chariot can be traced back to the steppe regions of Central Asia, where horses were first domesticated around 4000 BCE. Initially, horses were primarily used for transportation and hunting, but by the early 2nd millennium BCE, the technology to harness horses to wield carts had been developed. The first chariots were lightweight, two-wheeled vehicles pulled by teams of horses or other animals, designed to carry one or two warriors at high speeds. The key technological innovation of the chariot was the combination of a sturdy yet lightweight frame with the power and speed of the horse. This allowed chariots to move quickly across the battlefield, giving armies that used them a significant advantage in mobility and maneuverability. Unlike infantry, which was often slow and cumbersome, chariot forces could rapidly strike and retreat, outflanking enemy forces and causing chaos in their ranks. While early wheeled vehicles had been used for transportation and ceremonial purposes in Mesopotamia and other ancient cultures, it was the development of the horse-drawn chariot that transformed these vehicles into an effective tool of war. The chariot's ability to move swiftly across flat, open terrain made it particularly effective in the vast plains and deserts of the Near East and Central Asia, where many of the early Bronze Age civilizations were located. Chariot warfare in the Near East. The chariot first rose to prominence in the Near East, where it played a critical role in the military strategies of civilizations such as the Sumerians, Assyrians, Hittites, and Egyptians. Chariots quickly became a symbol of military power, prestige, and technological superiority, and they were often reserved for the elite warriors of a society, nobles, kings, and military leaders. One of the earliest recorded uses of chariot warfare comes from the Hittites, an Indo-European people who established a powerful kingdom in Anatolia, modern-day Turkey, around 1600 BCE. The Hittites were among the first to perfect the use of chariots in battle, and they used their chariot forces to great effect in their campaigns of conquest. The Hittites were able to dominate their rivals in part because of their superior chariot tactics, which involved using fast, mobile chariots to break enemy lines and exploit weaknesses in opposing forces. The Egyptians were also early adopters of chariot warfare, particularly during the New Kingdom period, circa 1550–1070 BCE. The Egyptians first encountered the chariot during their conflicts with the Hyksos, a foreign people who invaded and ruled parts of Egypt during the Second Intermediate period. The Hyksos introduced the Egyptians to the chariot, and the Egyptians quickly recognized its potential for transforming their own military forces. Under Pharaoh Ahmoses I, the Egyptians expelled the Hyksos and began to build their own chariot forces. By the time of Thutmose III, Egypt had developed a highly effective chariot corps, which played a crucial role in the expansion of the Egyptian Empire. The Battle of Megiddo in 1457 BCE, fought between Thutmose III's forces and a coalition of Canaanite city-states, is one of the earliest recorded instances of large-scale chariot warfare. Thutmose III used his chariots to outmaneuver the Canaanites, ultimately achieving a decisive victory and consolidating Egyptian control over the region. Chariots were not only a key military asset for the Egyptians, but also a symbol of royal power and divine favor. Pharaohs were often depicted riding in chariots in temple reliefs and tomb paintings, emphasizing their dominance on the battlefield and their connection to the gods. In this way, the chariot became a powerful tool for both military and political purposes, reinforcing the authority of the ruling elite. The Hittites and the Battle of Kadesh. One of the most famous examples of chariot warfare in the ancient world is the Battle of Kadesh, fought between the Egyptians and the Hittites around 1270 CE. This battle, which took place near the Orontes River in modern-day Syria, is often cited as one of the largest chariot battles in history, with thousands of chariots taking part on both sides. The conflict between Egypt, under Pharaoh Ramses II, and the Hittite Empire, led by King Mu'tali II, was the culmination of decades of rivalry over control of the Levant, a region that was strategically important for trade and military purposes. Both the Egyptians and the Hittites had developed highly advanced chariot forces, and the Battle of Kadesh showcased the full potential of this technology. The Hittites, known for their skillful use of chariots, deployed a large force of chariots in a surprise attack on the Egyptian army. The speed and power of the Hittite chariots initially overwhelmed the Egyptian forces, and Ramses II was forced to retreat. However, the Egyptians eventually regrouped and launched a counterattack, using their own chariots to turn the tide of the battle. While the Battle of Kadesh ended in a stalemate, it highlighted the critical role that chariots played in determining the outcome of battles during this period. Chariot warfare allowed armies to move and strike with unprecedented speed, giving them a tactical advantage over more traditional infantry-based forces. In the years following Kadesh, both Egypt and the Hittite Empire continued to rely heavily on their chariot forces to maintain control over their territories and expand their influence. Chariot warfare in China and India. The use of chariots was not limited to the Near East and Egypt. Around the same time that chariots were transforming warfare in the Mediterranean and the Middle East, similar developments were taking place in China and India. In China, the first chariots are believed to have appeared around 1200 BCE during the Shang dynasty. These early Chinese chariots were similar in design to those used in the Near East, with lightweight wooden frames and spoked wheels. Chariots quickly became an important part of Chinese warfare, and they were used extensively by the Shang and Zhou dynasties in their campaigns to expand their territories and consolidate power. The Shang elite, like their counterparts in Egypt and Mesopotamia, used chariots as a symbol of their authority and military prowess. Chariots were often buried with rulers and high-ranking officials along with horses and other valuable items, reflecting their importance in both life and death. The presence of chariot burials in Shang royal tombs suggests that chariots were closely associated with the social and political elite, further reinforcing the connection between technology and inequality. In India, chariot warfare played a significant role in the military strategies of the Vedic Aryans who migrated into the Indian subcontinent around 1500 BCE. The Rig Veda, one of the oldest texts in Indian history, contains numerous references to chariots and chariot warfare, highlighting the importance of this technology in early Indian society. Chariots were used both for warfare and for ceremonial purposes, and they became a key symbol of power and prestige among the Vedic elite. As in other parts of the world, the ability to use chariots in battle gave certain groups a significant advantage over their rivals, allowing them to expand their influence and control over territory. The use of chariots in ancient India continued into the later Vedic period and played a central role in the military strategies of the kingdoms that emerged during this time. Social and economic impact of chariot technology. The introduction of the chariot as a tool of war had far-reaching consequences for the societies that adopted it. Chariots were expensive to produce and maintain, requiring skilled labor to craft the wooden frames, metal fittings, and spoked wheels. In addition, horses were a valuable and often scarce resource, further limiting access to chariot technology. As a result, chariots were typically reserved for the elite members of society, nobles, kings, and military leaders who could afford to equip themselves with this advanced technology. This created a significant divide between the ruling classes, who controlled the chariot forces, and the lower classes, who served as infantry or laborers. The ability to use chariots in warfare became a key determinant of social status, and those who commanded chariot forces often held significant political and economic power. The inequality in access to chariot technology also had military implications. Armies that could field large numbers of chariots were able to dominate their rivals, particularly in regions with flat, open terrain where chariots were most effective. In many cases, chariot warfare allowed small, technologically advanced societies to conquer and control larger, less organized groups, further entrenching the power of the elite. The cost and complexity of chariot warfare also had an impact on the economy. Maintaining a chariot force required significant resources, including horses, skilled labor, and access to metals such as bronze. This placed a heavy burden on the economies of the societies that adopted chariot warfare, and in some cases the need to support a large chariot corps contributed to the decline of these civilizations. For example, the Hittite Empire, which had built much of its military power on the strength of its chariot forces, eventually collapsed in the early 12th century BCE, in part due to economic strain and internal divisions. The high cost of maintaining a chariot-based military, combined with external pressures from rival groups such as the Sea Peoples, led to the downfall of the Hittites and other Bronze Age civilizations. The decline of chariot warfare. Despite the dominance of chariot warfare in the second millennium BCE, the use of chariots in battle began to decline around 1000 BCE, with the advent of new military technologies, particularly the development of cavalry and iron weapons. Cavalry forces, which consisted of warriors riding horses without the need for chariots, gradually replaced chariot forces in many parts of the ancient world. Cavalry was more flexible and versatile than chariots, allowing armies to operate in a wider range of terrain, including mountainous regions and dense forests where chariots were ineffective. In addition, cavalry forces were less expensive to maintain, as they did not require the same level of specialized craftsmanship and resources as chariots. The transition from bronze to iron also played a role in the decline of chariot warfare. Iron weapons were stronger and more durable than their bronze counterparts, and the widespread use of iron by 1000 BCE allowed more people to equip themselves for battle, further reducing the need for elite chariot forces. Armies began to rely more on infantry and cavalry equipped with iron weapons, and the chariot, once the pinnacle of military technology, became increasingly obsolete. The legacy of chariot warfare. Although the era of chariot warfare eventually came to an end, the legacy of the chariot lived on in the cultural and political institutions of the ancient world. Chariots continued to be used in ceremonial and symbolic contexts long after they had fallen out of favor as military tools. In many cultures, the chariot remained a symbol of royal power and divine authority, and rulers were often depicted riding in chariots in art and literature. The impact of chariot warfare on the course of human history cannot be overstated. Chariots revolutionized the way battles were fought, giving technologically advanced societies a significant advantage over their rivals. The ability to field chariot forces allowed early empires to expand their territories, control trade routes, and consolidate their political power. At the same time, the unequal access to chariot technology created social and economic divisions within these societies, reinforcing the dominance of the elite over the lower classes. The history of chariot warfare is a testament to the ways in which technology can shape the balance of power, both within and between societies. Conclusion. The rise of chariot warfare in the second millennium BCE marks one of the most significant technological advancements in ancient military history. Chariots gave armies unprecedented mobility and speed, allowing them to dominate their enemies and expand their territories. However, the cost and complexity of chariot technology meant that it was often reserved for the elite, creating stark social and economic divisions. The story of chariot warfare illustrates a recurring theme in human history. Access to advanced technology can confer enormous advantages, but it also creates inequalities. Just as the chariot allowed certain civilizations to rise to power, today's cutting-edge technologies, such as artificial intelligence, have the potential to reshape the world in profound ways. If we do not take steps to ensure that these technologies are equitably distributed, we risk creating